trial of a Texarkana woman accused of killing her mother and cutting her unborn child from her womb.
Well, Taylor Parker has been sentenced to death for capital murder.
Continuing coverage now, Taylor Parker becomes the 7th woman on death row in Texas.
October 9, 2020, New Boston, Texas. A horrific scene unfolds inside a modest family home. 21-year-old Reagan Michelle Simmons Hancock lies dead on the floor, her body mutilated in the most unimaginable way. Her unborn child, a daughter just weeks from her due date, has been cut from her womb with a crude, improvised cut. Hours later, 30 miles away, a woman is pulled over for speeding. In her lap, a newborn gasps for breath, still attached to a placenta. "I just gave birth on the side of the road," she tells the officer. But the truth is far more sinister. For months, Taylor Parker had lived a life based on lies, convincing everyone, her boyfriend, her family, even her own children, that she was pregnant. As her fictional due date approached, so did her desperation. She needed a baby, at any cost. Today we're examining one of the most disturbing cases of deception and murder in recent memory. Unlike many cases we cover, this isn't a decades-old mystery. This is a modern nightmare where digital footprints, social media, and quick police work exposed a heinous truth. Sometimes the monster isn't hiding in the shadows. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, beneath a mask of routine that no one thought to question. Reagan Michelle Simmons, a 21-year-old girl, was born and raised in the tight-knit community of New Boston, Texas. It was a small town of just under 5,000 people near the Arkansas border. Here, everyone knows their neighbors. Children grow up together, attend the same schools, and often build their adult lives within the same community. Reagan was loved by everyone, described by friends as vibrant and full of life. In her early 20s, she married Homer Hancock, and the couple settled into creating the life they dreamed of together. Their first daughter brought immeasurable joy to the young family. Photos on social media showed a smiling Reagan embracing motherhood, trips to the park, holiday celebrations, quiet moments at home. These were the snapshots of a family building a foundation of love. By 2020, Reagan was pregnant with their second child, another daughter they had already named Braxlyn Sage. At 34 weeks along, Reagan's pregnancy was healthy and everything was normal. They had prepared the nursery, baby clothes washed and folded, hospital bag nearly packed. Around town, the Hancocks were seen as the ideal young family. Reagan worked at a local restaurant where customers and coworkers adored her. Homer was hardworking and devoted. They represented the kind of wholesome family values that small towns like New Boston take pride in. As Reagan entered her 8th month of pregnancy, her excitement was palpable. In just a few weeks, baby Braxlyn would join their family. Friends later recalled how Reagan had been glowing during those final weeks, eagerly counting down the days until she would hold her second daughter in her arms. She had no way of knowing that someone else had been watching her pregnancy unfold with a very different kind of hunger. While Reagan Hancock prepared for her growing family, Taylor Parker was crafting a story of her own. At 27, Parker lived in a nearby community with her boyfriend Wade Griffin. She already had 2 children from previous relationships, but they didn't live with her full-time. Parker's background wasn't remarkable. She, grown up in the same region, had a string of relationships and worked various jobs over the years. What set her apart was her extraordinary ability to convince others of her fabrications. In February 2020, Parker announced she was pregnant. She posted sonogram images, tracked her baby bump growth with regular photos, and shared updates about doctor's appointments. She held a gender reveal party where she announced she was having a boy. She named him Clancy. No detail was left overlooked. Parker joined online pregnancy groups. She discussed morning sickness and food cravings. She even complained about gestational diabetes. When friends saw her, she wore maternity clothes with a seemingly growing belly underneath. But there was no pregnancy. There was no Clancy. There were no doctor visits. What nobody knew was that Parker had undergone a hysterectomy years earlier. Having another biological child was physically impossible for her. Her internet history would later reveal thousands of searches: how to fake being pregnant, fake a pregnancy belly, fake ultrasound photos. She had studied the language of pregnancy, learning how to discuss symptoms and milestones with the conviction of someone actually experiencing them. As her fake due date in November approached, Parker faced mounting pressure. Her boyfriend had remodeled a room as a nursery. Friends had thrown her a baby shower. Family members were eager to meet the new arrival. She had built a tower of lies that was about to collapse unless she found a baby to present as her own, and she had already chosen where to find one. As Parker's fictional due date loomed closer, her internet searches took a darker turn. No longer content with researching how to fake a pregnancy, she began studying how to obtain an actual baby. Investigators would later find searches for how to perform a C-section, how to cut a baby out of a mother, and how long can a baby survive after mother dies. These weren't random queries, they were research for what she was planning to do. Parker first explored legal ways. She contacted adoption agencies but was quickly dismissed due to background checks. She reached out to pregnant women offering to help them. No one took the bait, so her desperation grew by the day. That's when she began focusing on Reagan Hancock. The two women weren't close friends but knew each other through mutual connections in their small community. Parker had been watching Reagan's pregnancy announcements online, noting her due date, tracking her progress. In the weeks leading up to October 9th, Parker purchased a scalpel set and studied anatomy diagrams. She researched the effects of various medications during pregnancy. She watched videos of cesarean sections. She researched how much blood loss would cause death. She even conducted a practice run, telling her boyfriend she was going to a prenatal appointment on October 8th, just one day before the murder. Instead, she drove to the Hancock home, apparently surveying out the location and confirming Reagan would be alone the next morning. Each step was calculated, each move planned in advance. Taylor Parker wasn't acting on impulse. She was executing a carefully crafted plan to steal not just a baby but a life. October 9, 2020, morning in New Boston. Reagan Hancock's husband had already left for work. At home were Reagan, just weeks from her due date, and her 3-year-old daughter. Shortly after 10 a.m., Taylor Parker arrived at the Hancock home. What happened inside those walls would later be pieced together through forensic evidence and Parker's own statements to police. The attack was quick and brutal. Parker struck Reagan multiple times in the head, possibly stunning her. A struggle broke out, evidenced by overturned furniture and Reagan's defensive wounds. Despite being heavily pregnant, Reagan fought for her life, but Parker overpowered her. Using a scalpel she had brought with her, Parker cut into Reagan's abdomen while she was still alive. The medical examiner would later determine that Reagan was conscious during at least part of this unimaginable horror. She died from blood loss and the trauma of the crude C-section. Amid the brutal attack, Reagan's 3-year-old daughter was somewhere in the house. Whether she witnessed the attack or was in another room remains unclear. The thought of a child potentially hearing or seeing her mother's murder added another layer of horror to an already unfathomable crime. Around 1 p.m., Reagan's mother arrived at the house to check on her daughter. What she found was a scene of carnage so disturbing that first responders, many of them veterans of decades on the force, would later describe it as the worst they had ever witnessed. The 911 call captured the raw anguish. "My daughter been murdered," Reagan's mother sobbed. "They took the baby. By the time paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could do for Reagan, and the baby little Braxlyn Sage was nowhere to be found." After leaving the Hancock home, Parker drove away with baby Braxlyn still attached to the placenta. She hadn't bothered to cut the umbilical cord. Evidence of both her panic and her complete lack of medical knowledge despite all her research. Just before 10 a.m., Texas State Trooper Chad Norvell spotted a vehicle traveling at high speed along State Highway 82 in DeKalb, Texas, about 12 miles from New Boston. He pulled the car over for a routine traffic stop. What he found was anything but routine. Inside the vehicle, Parker was holding a newborn baby on her lap, umbilical cord still attached. The infant was pale, barely breathing. "I just gave birth on the side of the road," Parker told the officer, her clothes soaked in blood. Trooper Norvell immediately called for an ambulance. Parker and the baby were rushed to McCurtain Memorial Hospital in nearby Oklahoma. At the hospital, medical staff quickly realized something was wrong. The baby showed no signs of natural delivery. Parker had no signs of having given birth. When questioned, her story began falling apart within minutes. Meanwhile, word of Reagan Hancock's murder had spread through law enforcement channels. When investigators learned about a woman with a newborn who couldn't explain how she delivered it, the connection was made almost immediately. By 1 p.m., barely 3 hours after the murder, Taylor Parker was in police custody. The evidence was simply overwhelming. Reagan's blood on Parker's hands and clothes, the scalpel in her vehicle, and the dying infant, who matched the description of the baby, cut from Reagan's womb. Despite emergency medical efforts, baby Braxlyn did not survive. As investigators dug into Parker's background, the horrifying extent of her premeditation came to light. Her phone contained thousands of searches related to pregnancy, faking pregnancy, and performing cesarean sections. Even more disturbing were videos of actual births and C-sections found in her search history. When Parker's case went to trial in October 2022, the evidence was undeniable. Prosecutors presented her internet searches, text messages, and the testimony of those who had been deceived by her fake pregnancy. Medical experts detailed the brutal nature of Reagan's death and the trauma inflicted on baby Braxlyn. For those who had believed Parker's pregnancy, including her boyfriend, the truth was devastating. Many had given her gifts, thrown her baby showers, and supported her throughout her supposed pregnancy. Now they sat in the courtroom, confronting the horrific reality of her deception. In November 2022, the jury took less than an hour to find Parker guilty of capital murder. In the punishment phase, they needed just 2 hours to sentence her to death. For Reagan's family, no verdict could heal their wounds. They had lost not only Reagan, but also baby Braxlyn, and their surviving granddaughter had lost her mother in the most traumatic way imaginable. In a statement after the sentencing, Bowie County District Attorney Kelly Crisp said, "We are just so grateful that justice has been served today, not only for Reagan and Braxlyn, but also for the families." As Taylor Parker was led from the courtroom to begin her journey to death row, Reagan's mother told reporters, "My daughter was an amazing young woman with so much life ahead of her. No punishment can ever equal what was taken from us." Parker is currently on death row at the Mountain View Correctional Unit in Gatesville, Texas. A faked pregnancy, a calculated plan, a horrific murder that shook a Texas town to its core. The case of Taylor Parker reminds us that true monsters don't always lurk in shadows or wait decades to be caught. Sometimes they build their deception in broad daylight, hiding behind smiles and baby shower gifts. As Taylor Parker sits on death row at the Mountain View Unit in Gatesville, Texas, the community of New Boston continues to heal from wounds that may never fully close. Share your thoughts on this devastating case in the comments below. What warning signs do you think were missed? Which tragic case should we examine next? Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to uncover more stories of justice served that remind us evil can hide behind the most ordinary facades. Because sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones we never suspect until it's too late.